Okay, can I start?
Yes, would you mind putting your video on for even for a few minutes just for us to see and know who's presenting?
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Giulio Agnusde from University of Salento in Italy. I will present our study titled IoT Technologies for Wine Supply Chain Traceability, Potential Application in the Southern Apulia region. Co-authors of this study are Benedetta Coluccia, Valerio Elia, and Paolo Miglietta. In this slide, you can see the agenda of the presentation that I'm going to show us. I will start with the introduction, then background, methodologies, the proposed framework, and finally conclusions. First, I would like to explain why we choose Italy for our study on wine supply chain. First of all, because Italy is leader in wine production volume and ranks second for export volume and value. Second, because the large share of high-quality wine produced by the Italian wine industry and the increasing reputation of Italian wines on domestic and foreign markets contribute to creating significant occasions for frauds. The counterfeiting and relabeling of cheaper wines as expensive and collectible wines is the most prevalent. The interest in avoiding counterfeits is becoming greater among scholars and practitioners. In this context, IoT technologies could be considered as new enabling tools for the whole wine supply chain. In the last year, several traceability tools have been developed to track supply chain activities, for example, barcodes, QR codes, and RFID tags. The integration of IoT technologies with the blockchain ensures the traceability and the complete transparency of the supply chain. Blockchain technologies help to build trust mechanisms for solving transparency and security issues, so that no single party in the supply chain can alter the existing information. Within this context, traceability is becoming an essential management tool also for improving production efficiency. Therefore, this study answers to the following research questions. How can IoT technology support traceability within the wine supply chain? To answer this question, it's important to start with the description of the wine supply chain of the study area, the southern of Apulia region in Italy. Here, the vineyard area for the production of wine grapes amounts to approximately 40,000 hectares. In this specific zone, the wine production chain is divided into three macro production processes managed by several actors. The phases are vineyard cultivation, winemaking, and wine bottling. The vineyard cultivation process can be managed by associated viticulturists who confer all the grape production to cooperative or social seller, or by independent viticulturists who can decide to carry out the winemaking activities independently or to delegate to third parties. Winemaking process can be performed by agricultural seller, which vinify grapes mainly of their own production, by industrial seller, which vinify mainly grapes on behalf of third parties, or by social seller, which are wine cooperatives that vinify grapes from associated farmers. Wine bottling can be performed directly by sellers or outsourced to companies that deal with the bottling. The described production chain appears extremely fragmented and involves several actors. Its configuration generates issue in the traceability. of the individual phase, and therefore in the reliability of the information in all the phases of the supply chain. But how can IoT technology support traceability? So traceability is directly related to logistics activities through the capturing, storage, and transmission of information regarding each stage of the food supply chain. In the scientific literature, there is a lack of technological solution developed to improve the traceability and efficiency of the whole wine supply chain. In this context, the novelty of this study consists in the development of a new framework that ensures low investment and management costs and easily implementable technologies. For the aim of this study, we applied a simple methodology which consists of two main phases. In the first phase, qualitative interviews were carried out to a sample of 24 grape growers and wineries located in the study area in the Southern Apulia region. In the second phase, secondary data acquired from the literature, from Scopus and Google Scholar scientific database, secondary data were acquired, aiming at elaborating a conceptual framework to answer the study research question. This is the core of our study. We designed this framework for the traceability of the wine supply chain, which includes a combination of different digital technologies. For example, the blockchain, Internet of Things, RFID NFC tags, serial shipping container codes, and QR codes that could be applied within the different supply chain stages. Now let's start to describe each single phase of our study. Vineyard cultivation is the first phase. In this phase, IoT technologies can be implemented adopting a precision farming approach. This system allows for the remote monitoring of vineyards, for the archiving and managing of useful data associated with wines using technical and plant health files, and for the supplying of a durable, safe, and detailed vineyard information map. Through precision farming, it's possible to monitor the vineyard environment and support fertilization decisions. A cloud computing software can process the information collected by RFID and GPS through blockchain technologies, ensuring data reliability and security, and the start of a traceability process in the wine supply chain. The second phase is grape harvesting and tracking. Grapes are traditionally harvested and transported in plastic boxes and or directly on track beds. The most widespread IoT technologies in this phase are QR codes and more recently RFID tags. RFID tags can be applied on the plastic boxes and or on the track bed in order to identify the main features of the transported grapes, such as the variety, the origin, the cultivation techniques, but also other more specific information. In the third phase, the winemaking, when the harvest grapes arrive at the cellar, they should cross a sort of gate that reads the RFID tags applied on the boxes or on the track bed before being sorted for the desteaming and pressing. During the winemaking process, all the movements within the cellar, enological treatments, decanting, all the process are tracked. Using an RFID reader and writer, the cellarman can automatically or manually record all the information, updating the blockchain. In the fourth step, during the bottling and labeling process, in this phase, counterfeiting of packaging concerns the use of materials that don't comply with the legislation on food contact materials. In order to avoid the risk of fraud, RFID and NFC hybrid tags can be applied under the traditional paper label. RFID technology allows the winemaker to streamline the update and management processes, while NFC technology allows consumers to easily acquire the information regarding each phase of the wine supply chain through their smartphone. In this phase, distribution, retail, and consumption, it's important to describe the first phase, the transaction phase. Within the transaction between winemakers and wholesaler or retailers, smart contracts are recommended in order to reduce transaction time and at the same time preserving security. The retailers or wholesalers can acquire information regarding the bottles and their whole supply chain by scanning the QR code or NFC applied on each loading unit. That could be a pallet or a single bottle, used to facilitate the storage management before retail. The end user, through a specific app on their smartphone, could scan the RFID or NFC hybrid tags under the bottle label to check wine authenticity and to acquire all the information stored through the blockchain. At the end of supply chain, after consumption, empty bottles need to be evaluated in order to determine if they should be disposed of, recycled, or reused. The bottles suitable for reuse continue to be trusted along the supply chain through a reverse flow. In this case, the information contained in the RFID label allows the empty and sterilized bottles to be easily redirected to the original bottler, who generally needs to adapt the shape and size of bottles to the technical specification of the wine, as well as to branding and market recognition. We can conclude by saying that this paper proposes the application of an IoT technologies-based traceability system for the wine supply chain to provide transparency, efficiency, provenance, safety, and security. The information collected along the wine supply chain is entered in the management system by farmers, by winemakers, by bottlers, and is accessible to all of them, the distributors, consumers, and the bottle reverse logistics operators can only consult the information stored on the blockchain in order to learn the origin, the quality, the processing, the authenticity of wines. Finally, we can say that the potential development of this study could consist in a practical experimentation, and we are now working on that. Thank you for your attention, and I'm available for questions and curiosity.